Welcome to Someone Else's Movie, the original podcast where an actor, writer, director, or nebulous industry figure gives a little love to a movie they didn't make. I'm Norm Wilner. I'm a critic, consultant, and programmer based in Toronto, and this is The Other Thing I Do. My guest this week is Alison Reid, a stunt coordinator turned film and television director with credits on everything from Hudson and Rex to Murdoch Mysteries, as well as the acclaimed feature documentary The Woman Who Loved Giraffes. Her latest doc, The Art of Adventure, looks at the 1957 global trip undertaken by wildlife artist Robert Bateman and biologist Bristol Foster, which forged a lifelong friendship and may have changed the face of environmental activism. After a strong festival tour, it's now available on VOD in Canada and streaming on Hollywood Suite. You should check it out. Alison picked Fried Green Tomatoes, Jon Avnet's 1991 adaptation of Fanny Flag's novel, Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe, about the friendship of two women in 1920s Georgia as told by an older woman to a disgruntled housewife in 1980s Alabama. Jumping between those two time frames and featuring Jessica Tandy and Kathy Bates in the present and Mary Stuart Masterson and Mary Louise Parker in the past, it's a complex narrative that doesn't quite fit the frame of a studio crowd pleaser, although it did pretty well with audiences at the time. Well, most audiences. And it stayed with Alison for a very long time as well. I just want to point out that you're going to hear some weird thumps on this recording, which might have been squirrels on Alison's roof, and I also managed to confuse Jon Avnet with Jon Avnet at one point during the conversation, which is something I've been doing for 40 years and totally my fault. Apologies to both Johns. This is Someone Else's Movie.
Well, it just had such a powerful effect on me when it came out, Itchy Threadgood is the reason. I mean, the tomboy main character, one of the main, it's an ensemble film, but that character I identified with so much. This tomboy that lived by her own rules and, fought for whatever she felt was unjust, and the love that she had for Ruth, and all of those things spoke to me. And what also spoke to me was the two timelines. The Kathy Bates character, Evelyn, who is this middle-aged housewife, Southern woman who's trying to do the right thing and is sort of passive, but in the process of hearing this story about the Whistle Stop Cafe and Iggy and Ruth, she becomes more assertive and self-confident. And, I tend to love these stories that have two timelines going on and to see how the past can affect the present.
Yeah. So you saw it. I saw it theatrically when it first played. You ran into it there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
I saw it at a press screening, and I don't know that the audience was ready for how weird it is. Clearly, these were radio contest winners who didn't know anything about the book or the material.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting feeling the energy change, because it's a really strange film, especially for 1990.
Yeah.
Where so much of the themes that it's playing with couldn't really be stated. Plus, you're watching Jon Avnet try to channel the novel into a mainstream Americana thing, and he's an English filmmaker, and so you always get the sense he's not fully aware of the culture, and he's giving you his version of it, his impression of it, but it worked on them. It sort of rolled over them to the point, at the end when the cannibalism comes up, they're all fine with
it. Yeah. And that's, I guess he read the novel and was so taken with it that he had to make this film. And you're right, it was unusual at the time. I hear it was quite a challenge to get made because of, the LGBTQ plus theme that's never really, it's not realized the way it could have been if the movie was made today. But you certainly understand the relationship with Itchy and Ruth. So there's that undercurrent. There's lots of layers and themes going on that really speak to me.
I have always wondered if people read the book afterwards and were just surprised at all the stuff that it's in the film, but it's not explicit, as you say. It's all walked around and danced around and just off screen. Jon Avnet referred to the food fight as the love scene. between those
Yes.
characters, which,
Yeah.
sure.
I know, but I mean, there are other love scenes, like when the two of them are, swimming at night, sitting on the beach and or the edge of the lake or whatever they're on. I mean, there are lots of scenes where you get that connection between the two of them.
Yeah. And I don't mean to suggest that the film is a betrayal of the book in any way. It's surprising how well it plays and how much of the novel is in there for a studio picture that could not come
Yeah,
right out and confront things.
yeah. No, he
And
did an amazing job at navigating, being true to the book, navigating getting the film made, and he couldn't do that if he made it as explicit as the book is.
yeah,
And yeah, and I mean, isn't it ironic how, this story spoke to him, a man, and the studios didn't want to make it because they, thought it only had a female audience. And sure, it has a female audience, but, as with all good stories, they appeal to everyone.
yeah. And people who are willing to, pay attention, to actually look for the things that are happening, the connections, and piece them together. And
Yeah,
somehow the the big swings, the things that, I mean, I don't think work necessarily, which is the saran wrap sequence, and Kathy Bates being asked to play a more comic
right.
version of misery, right? Because she's this is just a genuinely unhappy person who is brought back to life by the story she hears, and reconnects with the world. But the movie initially, I felt like it hated her, which,
Kathy Bates' character?
yeah, I don't know that that's
Really?
fair. But Evelyn is, like, even just her name, Evelyn Couch, she's sort of a lump, described
Yeah.
as someone who's unhappy and comes back to life, as I was saying. But it seems like that is the closest it gets to showing us someone who's miserable in a funny way. And it struck me as really odd. I didn't rewatch it for decades, and then when the Blu-ray came out, I took another look at it, and I still think the film, I don't think Bates is playing it that way.
Right.
And I think that's what it is. It's the disconnect between the way she's framed and how it's slightly lighter and kind of meaner towards her in the first act, and the
Right.
way Bates has dignity throughout.
Well, it's funny that's what you took away from it, because I took away something different. I mean, I empathized with that character. I mean, she's trying her heart out to do what she can do to make a dead marriage come alive again. So she's going to these stupid women's groups, and they're like looking at their vaginas and doing all these things that aren't working. And the saran wrap, I mean, the saran wrap thing was a fantasy, right, in her brain. So her friend told her, oh my God, something about coming home with saran wrap is great for sex or something like that. And the saran wrap is just this incredible outfit that she's in, and she's imagining what it would be like if Ed came home to find her in that, and she imagined that he would be horrified, and so you see the scene she plays out in reality, which is, she's in a nice dress, she's made a nice meal, and he comes in, scoops the plate off the table and sits down in front of the baseball game, and doesn't. But so you sympathize with that. I mean, you sympathize with this woman trying her heart out. She's been raised in this Southern culture, so she's trying to, behave in the way that she's been taught all her life. And through this story, evolves,
Yeah.
into someone who's not going to take shit from anyone, including Ed. So I didn't and I didn't find her. I mean, she's obviously unhappy in her marriage, but I didn't find her miserable. I mean, I guess she's eating all these chocolate bars. That's the, but yeah, I had empathy for her even before her transition.
I wonder if it was just my audience, because they laughed at her in a really, it's one of those
Oh,
rare
really?
experiences. Yeah, I've had two or three in my entire life where the audience is at the Canada Square, at on like a Monday or Wednesday night, preview screening. I'm sure they didn't know anything about the book. They related to Jessica Tandy solely as that nice lady from Driving Miss Daisy.
Right.
And yeah, they didn't know what to do. So they laughed at Bates. And it felt to me like the movie was sort of inviting that, look, the chocolate bars and like the way things are depicted. And I know it's a reflection of Evelyn's own misery, but I don't know, it played funny for them. I didn't feel that way. And so maybe I got my backup in order to defend the film and defend Kathy Bates, who's an incredible actor.
Yeah.
But they're all incredible actors too. I don't want to take anything away. But yeah, people tittered a lot in those scenes, and not at all in the flashbacks. That played really well. Right.
Well, it's funny. I mean, the Tawanda scene. I mean, when she makes her transition to being more assertive and drives her, rams her car into those women's car that were totally rude to her. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's comical for sure. When she's knocking down the wall in her house and all that sort of thing. And I guess Fanny Flagg comes from that sort of background, right?
So I think so, yeah.
She's a comedian. Yeah.
Maybe that's it too. There's just this weird bump between the intention and Flagg's novel. I've got it right here, a little thing here. The Weems Weekly, the newsletter that tells the story. At some point, they're all like kind of quietly silly names or obvious names, and so maybe that is it. Her instinct was just to be broader, I suppose. But then the story she's telling, maybe that's it. Maybe it's a spoonful of sugar situation, because the story she's telling is so much more grounded and painful and emotional, and people die all the time, and there's sadness and illness, and this friendship, whatever it turns into in the film, is the thing that sustains these two women.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's the way you can make all those points is find a friendly way into those stories. So yeah. I mean, even with my own films, like The Woman Who Loved Giraffes, for instance, it's you take the audience on an adventure with a pioneering young woman, and then you find out about, giraffe conservation and the horrible things on giraffes. So I mean, there's themes of racism, sexism, homophobia, all those things are going on in this film, but you certainly don't get hit over the head with them. You come at them through the characters, through their personal experience. So I think that's one of the things that made it successful.
Yeah, we see things as they see them, and we're hearing a story that is filtered through memory too. So you can make arguments for intensity, and maybe that's the thing about Avnet, is that he gives these little spikes of flavor, texture, tone. I don't quite know how to describe it, because the film, like visually, it's pretty pedestrian in its setups.
Yeah.
Not in a negative way. It's just, again, it looks like people's memories of television, like the olden days.
Are you talking about the story from the past or Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if it was shot, if he shot it today, how it would look.
Now it would be a miniseries. And
yeah.
Of course it would.
Yeah.
And maybe wouldn't work. That's the other thing too, because I keep thinking, would this work if you were more respectful of its original intentions? If you didn't have to blunt certain things, could you actually make a version of this that honors the relationships and the violence and everything else in a more concrete way? And I don't know that it would work as well, because the tenderness of the film version, right? Like that's things where it's just quiet and people are sitting with each other. That's the love story. Yeah.
No, absolutely. That's a great point. But as we've been talking about this, I've been hankering to see a modern day version, but wouldn't that be incredible?
Who would you cast now?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I know. I haven't given that any thought, but I'm sure we could come up with some people.
Yeah, do you keep it in period? Is it still the 20s? I guess it has to be, right? You can't really change the timing. So it's 1927 and 1986. I guess it becomes a double period piece if you do it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So you're stuck with not only who can play characters in the 20s, but which modern actors would look period appropriate in the 80s
Mm-hmm.
without pushing all the way into hairstyles and clothes and really, because the
Yeah.
film is quite subtle about that.
No, it
It's
is.
it treats, it was the framing sequence takes place 5 years ago, and it still feels contemporary, and not in a really not overweight, overbearing, giant glasses on everybody and hair product and everything.
Yeah.
It's just people being people.
Exactly. And even the southern accents and things like that. I mean, they're not he doesn't hit you over the head with any of that. No, it's skillfully done. It's
Yeah,
very skillfully done
yeah,
and acted and yeah.
yeah. Oh, casting right across the board. I mean, right down to Nick Searcy, who would end up being, I think, a co-star in Justified, and then reveal himself to be a right-wing lunatic on social media. Plays the
Mhm.
kind of guy you want to see killed.
Yeah,
Good casting.
yeah, yeah.
Well
Yeah,
done, movie.
exactly. Yeah. And apparently he had Jessica Tandy in mind from the very early stages. And of course I didn't realize this, but she died 3 years later. And she was actually, she was ill while she was making that film, which is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, I did the press junket for Nobody's Fool, her final film, and she had only just died. I think she was gone before the film opened, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
But Paul Newman spoke of her so lovingly,
yeah.
and just like, this is his like shining light of the movie, and he just did everything he could to play up to her, and she would just keep dismissing him and saying, "No, you're pretty. I don't have to do anything."
Yeah, she sounds like a wonderful human being and so talented. And
Yeah,
she does, you just cannot help but love her in the film. And it's interesting, in the film how at the very end, I kind of wondered, oh my God, is she the older Iggy? Has she been telling the story? But of course, that's not. I mean, she's not. I mean, they're two separate characters in the book, but it's sort of hinted at the end of the film, isn't it?
oh, it feels that way. I'm surprised when we pass Ruth's grave, and
The bee charmer has left a jar, a jar by her gravestone and a little note.
yeah,
Yeah, and Jessica Tandy has that glimmer in her eye, which she could read so many ways. You
yeah.
know.
I mean, I think it's there for us. It's weird that Iggy and Ninny are two nicknames for one person, if that's the case. But
Yes, yes. But of course, I mean, she just got back looking at the house that was demolished that she said she shared with her husband for all those years. I mean, there are things that would point in another direction throughout the film.
mhm.
So,
And we have the excuse of meeting her at a home for the elderly, so she maybe doesn't fully
yes.
remember anything herself and is treating it notebook style, treating it like a story.
Right, right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the movie gives you all kinds of breadcrumbs. There's lots of ways to interpret the story, even though, I mean, it's all right there,
Yeah.
but it's obfuscated a little bit. And I think that's one of the reasons the movie is allowed to get away with all the things that it couldn't do. Even, like they're there, they're just not explicit. They're around the corner, or they're just out of sight. But
Right.
everybody in the movie knows what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, you see the KKK, you see them whipping Big George. So, I mean, that it's not totally. I mean, it's not totally hidden, as you say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, also, of course, we have, Cicely Tyson to sort of embody the entire history of all of Hollywood's treatments of racism in film, and to do it in a way that doesn't feel exploitative within the world of the film. She's got this incredible strength and force. I mean, Cicely Tyson, of course she does. You don't cast her not to do that.
Yes, exactly. And what a great thing to find out at the end that it was her. I mean, I mean, who did you think? Did you think Itchy did it? Did you think Itchy killed him? Did you think Big George did? I mean, those are the two obvious choices.
Hey, it's Norm interrupting my own show to bring you up to speed on Shiny Things, my newsletter about physical media, culture, and the odd streaming project. Last week, I caught up to the new releases of Is God Is, Mortal Kombat 2, and Pressure, and subscribers to the paid tier also got my exclusive reviews of The Samurai and the Prisoner, Sterling Point, and the return of Ted Lasso in Friday's What's Worth Watching dispatch. Sign up for a 14-day free trial at shiny-things.ghost.io and get caught up. You like reading about movies? I like writing about them. Come check it out. It's funny, I always knew it would be one of the women.
Okay.
Because like the dynamic of the story is such that you can't have a man save them. Like somebody, they have to save themselves in this specific story. And Big George is a good helper. Like he's not a bad guy, and he's going to do what he can to keep them safe and deal with the body.
Yeah.
Again, it's just so cheerfully ludicrous that the film ends with that reveal. And, you know, spoilers to a 35-year-old movie and a 40-year-old book.
Yeah.
But they eat a guy, or they don't themselves do it, but they sweeten the sauce with a human body, and that is just fine. Like it is absolutely in the course of the film and in its context, totally okay. And they just roll right through it without ever fully acknowledging it, because again, you would risk losing the Midwestern audience or whatever if you put that out there.
Well, it's acknowledged at the end there. I mean, yeah, you find out in no uncertain terms at the end, but that barbecue and those, you know, images of George with that big pot and that big grill, and it's quite something. And when the guy from Georgia, you know, that detective from the Georgia that always comes up to try and find out what's going on, and he's just loving that barbecue. It's fantastic.
Everybody gets payback somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do, again, that a film can have room for that and the tenderness that Mary Stuart Masterson and Mary Louise Parker exchange. Just, I mean, even just scenes where they're sort of just standing shoulder to shoulder, there's this warmth and this support. And it's such an odd gumbo of I mean, it is its own stew of feeling. And there really isn't another movie like it, I don't think. Not something that incorporates all of these extremes.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised, and yet I'm also not surprised at all that no one else did one. That there is no way to replicate that recipe exactly. Because usually, you know, when there's something that's successful, and this movie did really well, there are dozens of pretenders. Other scripts emerge and other projects come up, and it's like, it's just like Fried Green Tomatoes. No one has ever described a movie as that.
That's such a good point. Yeah. No,
closest we get is
really special story. Yeah.
Closest we get is maybe Forrest Gump, and even then, it's so different that I don't really see it. And it's also there's like all the queer characters are punished, so it's completely not like that.
Right.
This is a movie that has a big weird heart, and also there's organs in a pot somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a really, really interesting comparison. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they do stand together in any other way, except that it's just a big, like, kind of period narrative in the South.
Yeah.
And even that, well, the other thing too about Forrest Gump is that the book is similarly much, much wilder. Not in the same way, but, you know, Forrest goes into space and Forrest has a monkey friend, and there's all kinds of other stuff that Robert Zemeckis just pared out because he wasn't interested in it. And he turned it into this weird pop culture thing where the guy is present at all of these moments and meets all these famous people who are going to go on and be assassinated. It is the same kind of weird imbalance of elements that people accepted as coherent.
Yes.
I would argue that Fried Green Tomatoes is a better film just because I am not a fan of Forrest Gump, but
oh, really? Wow.
I don't think it knows. Fried Green Tomatoes understands the things it's asking of its audience and how to put together its message and honor the characters. And Forrest Gump is just, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and oh yeah, this character dies of something that's probably HIV, but we're not going to say that because that way she can be shamed for all kinds of behavior that she, you know, maybe it's God punishing Jenny. And I really don't like the morality of that film. It's incredibly conservative. Whereas Fried Green Tomatoes, accepts that people will love each other and find each other in any environment. And there is a morality that isn't punishment based.
Mm-hmm.
The bad things that happen because people who love each other are defending themselves or their loved ones.
Yep.
And weirdly, that extends into Evelyn's narrative, where she does fight for herself, and maybe not so much for her marriage, but she understands the things that have value in her life and she's willing to stand up for them.
Yeah, absolutely. What a challenge, with both those films, how you've got this sweeping novel that is not, that neither of them are linear, they're different time periods, and to adapt that in a way that, is conducive to a film being effective is really admirable.
Yeah, neither book wants to be contained.
Yes, exactly.
And I think Fried Green Tomatoes, weirdly, by putting a lot of things in the background, honors the spirit of the book better than what they did with
Yeah,
Gump.
yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting you say that. I got to meet both Mary Louise Parker and Mary Stuart Masterson on different shows. Yeah, so I was a stunt coordinator before I became a filmmaker. So I stunt coordinated films, like separate ones, where they were both acting. So it was fantastic to get to meet them both in person after seeing that film.
Yeah. Did you have the chance to talk about the
Yeah,
performances?
yeah, a little bit for sure. Yeah, it's always different. You have this meeting an actor when you know their character in that film, and it's so different. I mean, because they're both such great actors.
Yeah, I've enjoyed both of their careers consistently. It's always weird what people connect to and what they don't connect to, like audiences. I mean, with characters and persona. I read a piece just today on Jennifer Jason Leigh in Single White Female, and it argues for that as her greatest performance. And it's not necessarily wrong. It's a really good argument, and it's a great movie, but I haven't thought about it in decades. So now I'm curious to revisit it. And then thinking about this, I was thinking of all the other stuff I've seen Masterson in, and Parker and Kathy Bates, and how I don't know if I could argue for this movie as their definitive performances, but it does, like, they're exactly right for the roles that they're playing. So
absolutely,
in a weird way, like the casting is dead on, but they have this incredible run to come too.
Yeah. And of course, Bates had just come off Misery. So, I mean, that was, I think that may have been instrumental in helping him get it made, to have snagged her as well as Jessica Tandy.
Yeah, that's true. It's 2 consecutive Best Actress winners. I'd forgotten about that because she won for Driving Miss Daisy the year before.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And
yeah.
And Bates was in something else right around the same time. Oh, At Play in the Fields of the Lord. I think a Hector Babenco film. Nobody remembers it. It's about missionaries and South American tribes. It's a mess. It's another attempt to do a great big book, and it doesn't catch anything. It
doesn't quite work. Yeah.
It's really episodic, and there's bits and pieces. And Tom Berenger and Daryl Hannah are also in it. I haven't thought about that in 35 years.
Wow. Yeah, it's really, really special when a film works. I mean, sometimes you're working on a film and everyone's getting along and you just think you're making magic, and then the film comes out and it's like, ugh. Or the opposite, it's absolute freaking hell. Everyone's having a horrible time, and then magic happens when it hits the screen. And when you think that was Jon Avnet's debut directorial, he was a producer, well-known producer, and has produced tons of films, but this was his directorial debut. So I think he did a beautiful job. It's interesting when you have that perspective.
I had forgotten about that, and I'm thinking of someone else because he's American. I thought he was English for some reason.
Yeah, I was going to say I wasn't aware he was British.
Yeah, no, he's not. I was dead wrong. I will have to figure out how to recut that. Or maybe I'll just leave it in and sound like an idiot. I can't know everything.
Yeah. But produced Risky Business and, Black Swan and a bunch of different...
Oh, I'm thinking of Johnny Neal. And I used to do this
Oh,
all the time. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, Johnny Meal, who is English and made a bunch of American movies like serial killer stuff like Copycat. And
okay.
that's the guy who had no ear for culture. He, like,
Okay.
everything he made, even stuff that's shot on location, feels like it's shot in the studio. I'll have to figure out a way around this because, oops,
Okay.
that's a
Okay.
dumb
No
mistake.
problem. Yeah, but
Um,
John did like it was really important to him that the Southern people were represented properly and not stereotypically. And he went to great lengths to make sure the accents were correct, and the way that they were represented was not off the chart. And apparently he's succeeded. Apparently Southern people did not object to the way they were portrayed and the way the situation was portrayed, in the film. So
that's good.
yeah, there's an interview with him on YouTube from way back in the day where he talks about that. And it's done by a woman who's the interviewer is from the South, and she comments on that. It's like, thank you. Yeah.
And to me, that's another thing that just distinguishes it from Forrest Gump, which was just a big, broad Southern, everybody like Bubba Gump talks like that. And
Right.
everybody is affecting an accent on some level, and none of them is necessarily respectful. And the way they hid behind it was, well, this is a fantasy. This is a fable.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Fable gets a lot of mileage these days when people are trying to cover up something
Yeah.
unpalatable.
It's so tricky when you're doing accents on set. I mean, people that know when it's right or wrong. You can tell instantly, and it's so difficult to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it's done well, yeah, I'm glad people recognize the work here.
Yeah. Yeah. Me
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
So to pivot now, I'm trying to figure out how the choice, because usually there's a really there's I find often there's an interesting line between the films people choose and the films they choose to make. But
Yeah.
your film, I mean, there's a certain wide open quality to the art of adventure, but it's not really that, is it? I mean, was there anything that you see in your
There doesn't seem to be an obvious one, especially because one's a drama, a scripted drama, one's a documentary. But both films speak to me because of the characters. Idgie Threadgood lives by her own set of rules, and she doesn't really care what the societal norms are. I mean, she's true to herself. So at the beginning of the film, we see her like throwing her dress off the treehouse when she's a kid, and she continues that way, just living in a way that's true to herself. With Robert Bateman and Bristol Foster, they were raised in the 40s, and being birders and naturalists was not a cool thing to do. Robert says, I was never a jock or an athlete. He was drawn to painting, and he was drawn to nature and birding, and that was not a popular path back then. And the same with Bristol. I mean, Bristol's father was a lawyer, an insurance guy. He valued being in business and could not relate at all to his son's desire to be, watching birds and interested in birds and nature. So, and both of them, ignored that as hard as it was, and went on that journey around the world in the Land Rover when they were in their 20s. And the other element of their characters that really speaks to me is the willingness to be outspoken, speak up for what's right. And I think a lot of people aren't willing to do that, especially in real life. It's like, oh, if it's a little bit controversial or whatever, keep your mouth shut. But Idgie Threadgood certainly didn't do that, and neither do Bob and Bristol. Like, Robert, has been very, very outspoken about environmental protection, and it doesn't really matter what the consequences are. That's just what he's drawn to. And the same with Bristol, with his ecological reserves and, even his government job. When the government switched over and a less amiable one came in, like he did not shut up. He left his job when he knew he couldn't continue to do the work that was important to him, which was protecting the environment. So yeah, being outspoken and standing up for what you believe in and being true to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I was also going to say, like, they're both, your film and Fried Green Tomatoes are both films about friendships, same-sex relationship friendships, whether they're romantic or platonic, where people bring the best out in each other. So that really is the idealized relationship. I think both of your subjects are impressive, principled men, but I think they are better for working with each other and having known one another.
That is an excellent, excellent point. You are absolutely right. And it's that friendship and that bond that's, lasted for over 8 decades. That's so moving. And they are a bit yin and yang. And that's, dovetails into what each does. And each respects what the other does. And yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's funny. It's funny. I mean, I guess I could have chosen a documentary. Maybe that would have been more. We would have found more things that dovetail.
No, follow your heart. I'm glad you picked the thing you picked.
But yeah, the art of adventure. I mean, here you have 2 guys. Two people who are best friends in their 90s as they were in their 20s, and if Ruth hadn't died, I'm sure that Itchy and her would be the same. And it's funny because some people that don't know Robert Bateman and Bristol Foster think that they are a couple. I mean, when you start out in the movie, these two guys who are clearly very fond of each other, get along really well, going around the world in a Land Rover together. I mean, people have come up to me afterwards and said, "Wow, we for the first chunk of the film, we thought they were a couple, but then of course they're clearly not. They have wives and families and grandkids, and so that's interesting. But it's their, I guess it boils down to characters, whether they're fictional or not, who have a passion and follow that passion. And, that's what really speaks to me.
And the process of making this movie was obviously organic, but it feels like you'd have to win people over, or at least gain their trust to make a movie like this and capture that, even that friendly intimacy. That's not always something that comes out for someone's camera.
Well, I met Robert Bateman and Bristol Foster and could not make this film. I got a very, very powerful feeling when I met with them. So they are friends of the Anne Dagg, who is the subject of my last documentary called The Woman Who Loves Giraffes. So they were all in the same friendship circle at the University of Toronto back in the 50s. And I had reached out to Robert and Bristol to get photographs of them for the making of that film. So I knew they lived on Salt Spring Island, and my partner and I were vacationing on Salt Spring Island, which, as you know, is just off the coast of Vancouver Island. And we're staying in this yurt, and I'm like, how could we not? We're here. How could we not just say hi to these guys and see if they want to go for a coffee? And the next thing I know, we were having a lovely lunch at the Batemans and got a tour of his studio. And I was hearing about this story about how they traveled around the world. And to tell you the truth, I did not want to make another documentary. They're super hard to get done. But I just got that same feeling where I just had to do it. I couldn't not to do it. So that's how it came to be.
And now that it's in the world, how do you feel about it? Did you make the movie that you set out to make, or did you discover something else along the way?
Yeah, well, the thing about documentaries is they're really made in the editing room. So I knew that Robert and Bristol's bond with nature and love for nature and this planet and the cultures really spoke to me. And that needed to be the through line. I mean, how their relationship with nature changed over all these decades. So the trip really sparked a deeper love of this planet. And, the rest of their years were spent protecting it. Robert through his art and Bristol through science and the ecological reserves. So I am just floored with how well it's been received. I mean, I knew it reached my heart, but to have it in front of audiences and have them come up to me afterwards, and to Robert and Bristol, who have been at our screenings with us, and people are just so genuine in telling them how much they influenced them, how inspiring they are, what an uplifting film it is, and how it gives them hope, and how it's heartwarming. So, and other people come up and say, one volunteer drove me to the screening at the Victoria Film Festival, which was one of the festivals where we won an audience award. And he said to me, "Alison, I don't cry in movies. I cried 4 times." So, I mean, these guys get to you. So I'm really glad. I'm really happy that it's being received in that way, and not only by older people. We know there's an older audience who, especially Bateman fans and the Land Rover groups, but there's a younger audience who they're in their 20s and they want to do adventures just like Robert and Bristol did. So I see the film as a sort of passing of the torch to young people.
Oh, that's great. And there's still so much natural world left to explore and to fight for.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah. And what Robert and Bristol strongly believe is that in order to save it, we need to connect with it, not through our screens, but actually get out there. And I mean, the benefits are, so great in terms of mental health, in terms of like our survival as a species, on so many levels. It's just important to get out there and fall in love with it the way they did, and that will inspire us to protect it, we hope.
My thanks to Alison Reid, whose new documentary, The Art of Adventure, is now available on digital and on demand in Canada and streaming here on Hollywood Suite. Thanks also to Zai Karim. She knows what she did. You can find Alison on Instagram at Ali Reid Film, all one word, and you can find Fried Green Tomatoes on Blu-ray and DVD from Universal Pictures Home Entertainment. It's also available to rent or buy on various VOD services across North America. You can find me on Blue Sky at Norm Wilner, and you can find this podcast there at Semcast, SEMcast, and on the web at someoneelsesmovie.com. The first year of the show is still available for just $20 at payhip.com/Semcast. That's the first 52 episodes of Someone Else's Movie, 40 of which aren't currently available anywhere else. And check out my newsletter, Shiny Things, at shiny-things.ghost.io. I think you'll enjoy it. Our theme song is by The Last Year. If you like it, or the show in general, please say so. Leave a review wherever you've been listening. Every little bit helps, it truly does. And check out the other shows on the Frequency Podcast Network while you're doing that. Stay safe, watch movies, get all the boosters. I'll see you next week.